What's up, homos? Homo sapiens, that is. Today I'll be discussing Greek mythology and how viable of a religion it is. It's a great way to start off my channel, as Hellenism, which is what the religion goes by nowadays, has a small following of 100 to 200,000 people. So let's get into it. Greek mythology's origin is a complicated one that isn't definitive in writing. It was passed down orally, so I'm going to stick to the basics and/or the parts I find most compelling. It starts off with Gaia, a goddess that sprang from nothing and is essentially the earth itself. She gives birth all on her own with no assistance to the sky, which is a god named Uranus. Uranus then conceived children with Gaia, and these gods gave birth to the so-called Titans. One of the Titans' name is Kronos, who revolts against his father and castrates him. The new successor, Kronos, fertilizes another Titan and brings life to the gods we know and love today. A few questions about this. How can something spring from nothing? It's an honest question, and I'm not sure there's a true honest explanation to it. Now, we are talking about a god here, so I guess anything is possible. Second, how can this god Gaia give birth all on her own? Again, I know she's a god, so I guess if you spring from nothing, you can give birth from nothing. This does seem like a step down. Most importantly, and final question, where is the sun in this origin story? If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure the sun came before the earth. The gods. Zeus is the main reason for the success of the gods, as he is the most powerful and is responsible for overthrowing Kronos, just as his father did before him. Zeus had control over the sky, thunder, lightning, law, and weather. He is considered wise, unpredictable, and moody. Poseidon is the second most powerful god. He is the god of the sea, earthquakes, and horses. Similar to his brother, he is known for having a hot temper and violent nature. Then we have Hades, the god of the underworld and the dead. Hades was seen as stern yet fair. Impartial to all life, he never really cared what happened above him. Together, these gods make up the big three. No other gods of Olympus dared to question their power, but that's not to say they go without question in the modern era. Greek mythology dates back about 2,700 years ago, and humans have learned a lot since then. Lightning is a great example of this. In essence, lightning is a buildup of static electricity. Positive electrons flow to the top of a cloud and negative electrons to the bottom. This is usually caused by different amounts of moisture within the cloud. Eventually, an abundance of negatively charged particles starts to form. When they find positive electrons to attach to, they send out millions of volts of electricity, usually to the tops of other clouds, but sometimes to the earth as well. For those of you that live in somewhat cold climates, do you ever wonder why there's rarely any lightning in the winter? This is because there is simply not enough moisture in the cloud to cause a change in electrons. All the water is frozen and has mostly the same positive energy. Another great example of the knowledge we have accumulated is earthquakes. The center of the earth is very hot, and the outer portion, which is called the crust, is very cold. That inner part of the earth is so hot it causes the outside to shift slowly over time. When the outside rubs against other parts, it causes earthquakes. Now, despite what you might think, this does not prove nor disprove Greek mythology. We know how lightning, earthquakes, and weather occur, but the root of why these particles move the way that they do is still somewhat of a mystery. We can study the trends of the moving crust and particles in the air to make educated guesses on what will happen next, but because all these particles are so small and hard to keep track of, we can't be certain. This is called the butterfly effect. And there's a great movie out there with Ashton Kutcher, which will explain it a lot better than I can. So this means we don't know what will happen and why it will happen. There is definitely a possibility that Zeus or Poseidon is behind this, but the fact that they have no mention of how these events occur and just the why leads me to believe that this theory is less than probable. Let's shift gears a little bit. There are many creatures in Greek mythology that are said to have existed. Let's explore some of these creatures and how viable their existence is or was. The Minotaur is considered to be half man, half bull, with the head of a bull and the body of a human. Its creation came about when Poseidon sent a bull to a king of Greece to be sacrificed. Instead of the sacrifice, the king kept the bull and did a replacement sacrifice. Poseidon was angered by this decision, and with the help of Aphrodite, the goddess of love, they forced the king's wife to fall in love with the bull, and thus the Minotaur was born. As it grew older, it became harder to feed, and human sacrifices were made to keep the Minotaur and the gods happy. Eventually, the problem became too much, and the Minotaur was sent to an underground maze called a labyrinth, which very few mortals had access to. The closest thing we have of evidence of the Minotaur's existence comes from a writer named Plutarch, who tells the myth of the Minotaur in the land of Crete. The second and final form of evidence comes from speculation of where the labyrinth was. Knossos, the largest city in Crete, has a maze like layout and has many bulls depicted on the walls. Though this doesn't come as much surprise, as bull jumping was a common sport back then and widely known to other ancient Greek lands. Charybdis is the daughter of Gaia and Poseidon, a sea monster that dwells near the bottom of the ocean. Once roaming near the top, Charybdis was used as a pawn in a dispute between Zeus and Poseidon. The creature was hit with a bolt of lightning and set to the bottom of the ocean, where it drinks massive amounts of water and causes whirlpools. As far as we know, whirlpools are formed when two opposing currents collide with each other. But that's not to say that is always true or fact. Only about 20% of the world's ocean has been explored. Furthermore, it's estimated that only 5% of the Mediterranean Sea has been explored, leaving the possibility of a deep sea creature to be very real. These one-eyed giants are also the children of Gaia. They are great builders of many walls and weapons. Some versions even have them crafting Zeus's thunderbolt, but most will remember them as villains from Homer's book The Odyssey. Cyclopses did leave behind remains, or what the Italians and Greeks believed to be remains of fossil fuels. Today, we believe these fossils are elephants that date back about 3 million years ago, with a disorder fittingly called cyclopia. This disorder does exist in humans too, however, nobody has yet to survive more than a few hours after birth. Besides that, the evidence is pretty slim. So, what do y'all think? Is Greek mythology real? Can you see yourself bowing down to Zeus? Let me know if I did this religion justice or if there's some vital evidence I missed.